Well, Jake, here we are back on the show for another week. We have a lot of neat things to talk about. First, I want to start off with something that really caught my fancy on Friday night. You know, Economides EHS, 0-3, 1-3, you would think, a boring night. But it really wasn't, man, because, you know, sometimes we're reminded of the sheer excitement, the joy, the pageantry of a football game. It was rivals against each other. The fans were going nuts. The parents' night for Economides was really incredible. You know, I really got down in there amongst them, and I got a ton of good pictures of the parents and their kids and the bands. I don't know. You know, we start talking about X's and O's and points and all that, and that's important. That's why we're here. But never forget that, you know, even if a team's not going to go 10-0 and win the state, you know, everybody loves a Friday night. I had a great time out there, and I just wanted to kind of stress that before we get going.
Yeah.
I have my crying towel again.
And Economides came out to play.
Oh, my.
And they did it for 4 quarters, unlike a lot of their games where they've had you know,
great start, slow finish. Right,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
They closed really good against a team that was riding pretty high.
That's right, and Economides is passing the ball. Okay, they had 134 yards passing, 4 touchdown passes in one game. So some teams are starting to rely on the run. Weslaco East, of course, always relies on the run. But did you see the number of yards that Donna had? 460?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of rushing yards. 3 guys with 100, I believe. One was Paul Guerra, one was the quarterback, and Mike Tamez was the other. So we asked earlier in the season, who are the guys that are going to come on, skill guys? Well, you just heard some names.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. A lot of people don't realize this was the progress report week for a lot of schools, especially the Edinburgh schools, progress report time. So come next week,
they'll be back, we hope. The kids who didn't sat out will be back.
They did what they were supposed to. Yeah,
that's going to change the dynamic a little bit. So, yeah, it's getting down to it. 2 weeks left, even though this is, what, week 10?
Week 9, isn't it? Is it week 10? Oh, it is
I don't know. It is 10.
Yeah.
And then next week is 11.
Yeah, they screwed it all up.
Yeah, we got the Halloween Tango and the Pumpkin Patch, and then November 7th, when it might be Weslaco versus its pal Weslaco East for the district championship in 31. But let's start in 30 and recap briefly the big game between Memorial and McAllen. It seemed like a blowout, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. You know, Memorial got out to a nice lead.
They did, 35-7, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they got up to a nice lead, and then all of a sudden plays just started happening for Mackay.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they had was it right at the end of the half?
Yeah, they scored
right
2.
At the end of the half.
2 touchdowns to Justin Gonzalez. Freddie Hover had a pretty good ball game. He had an ankle injury, I think, in the second quarter, fought through it. You know, McAllen came right back 35-28 at one point. But the kid was unstoppable.
Yeah, and he's running really well right now. And, you know, he's not the only weapon though that they have.
No,
they're not just throwing the ball.
5 out of 6 had a touchdown to DJ. Actually hit another one and got called back. Yeah. So no, we always said if they get decent quarterback play, then they will win. The kid now has rushed for more than 200 yards in every game. He had 306, and Aaron Villarreal had 3 touchdowns. Memorial is doing real well right now.
Yeah, you know, I like the way they're positioning themselves for the second season that's coming up because
it's coming up.
Yeah, and they've got a tough game though this week. They got. I actually was at Walmart today. Saw Marcus Kaufman, the OC.
Oh yeah.
They've got Palmview this week.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Palmview is riding high.
This is Palmview's chance, man. They have beaten all the second-tier teams. They've proven themselves to have a pretty good defense in that running game we've talked about. Now they get Memorial and McAllen back-to-back, and let's see what the Lobos can do.
Yeah.
Is it Lobos?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I don't want them to get that wrong. Yeah. Sometimes I call them Huskies, and that's not cool.
Yeah, that's Lincoln. Yeah. But, no, they've made, they made the playoffs. Right now, all they're doing is just, they've locked the 3rd seed up. They're going to make the playoffs. They've got to kind of get ready for the off season or for the postseason.
And of course, yes, you're right. And I would also say this: there's nothing in those kids' minds right now that tells them they can't win district. Mm-hmm. I mean, we think, well, Memorial Mackay is for the district title. What if Palmview beats both of them, wins district? We're going over to Palmview if that happens. I'm telling you, we're going to go over there and party down with them. It's amazing.
And for a first-year coach that's taking over a program that didn't do too well, he took over halfway through the season last year. Yeah. He's done a good job this year with his own program.
Well, if you can beat the teams you're better than, then you're going to make the playoffs. Let's see what happens these next 2 weeks with Palmview. All right, the games look like this. Lincoln and Mission. Mission played well against Rowe. They had a late lead. They almost took that ball game, but Rowe won, and so Rowe's now looking good as that 4th team.
Yeah. The rest of the district, the bottom part of the district wasn't as juicy as we kind of would hope it would.
Yeah.
But Lincoln played well against Palmview. They held. Yeah,
24-19. I mean, they almost didn't get to the party undefeated here. Yeah.
So they played a good game. So it's not like Mission is a pushover, and it's not like Lincoln's a pushover. They're just not as good as we thought they were going to be.
Yeah, that's true. Now we're not going to totally get ahead of ourselves, but we want to check in on the Laredo district, 29-6A, and I told you that Alexander's coming. They had a bad start. They were 0-2, but now they're starting to play a little bit. You don't want to have to play them in the playoffs. It looks like right now United, as expected, is 3-0. And LBJ, of all teams, is it the Wolves?
Yeah, the Wolves.
Sea Wolves or
Yeah.
something like that? No,
Yeah,
not
the
Sea
purple
Wolves.
one,
Yeah. There ain't no water out there anyway.
Yeah.
They're 3-0 too, man. Those guys beat Del Rio Saturday night, and right now they're tied with United.
Yeah, we've got a little Valley connection in there. Villaseñor.
That's right, yeah.
And Bermea's father, Randy Bermea's father, is over there. So there's some Valley connections there, but they're playing well. I mean, and for the teams in 36A to look over there, it's kind of scary right now because they could take the 2, 3, and 4 spots, as far as beating our teams over here.
Well, it's been back and forth the last several years with us in Laredo. Laredo was in a trough there for a while, but then United got good, Alexander got good, so it's going to be a dogfight, man. So you're probably looking at Memorial, Mackay, Palmview. We know Rowe can win out and make the playoffs, and they're a 4th team. They might get LBJ. All right, if Rowe gets LBJ, I'm not so convinced. I'm not trying to make any enemies that team is that good. What if Rowe had such an average, mediocre season and then won a playoff game? If they get it going, they can beat a lot of teams.
And the one thing that the Laredo schools, play against are passing teams.
Yeah.
Rowe was one of those passing teams.
Yeah, they would be great at Laredo. They'd be perfect.
Yeah. So it's something that they know what to do. Laredo knows how to defend it. But our players are different than their players.
Always bet the over when you're talking about a Laredo team, unless it's Del Rio, which is not truly Laredo, but Laredo District, because they generally play pretty good defense. Well, let's turn the page, literally here, and go down to Brownsville. How many Brownsvilles will make the playoffs? That's the big operative question. We're talking up Brownsville Vets, and they're on a 2-game losing streak.
Yeah, and we talked about Rivetta, though. And we talked about how
Here they come, like the monkeys. Here they come.
Yeah. Walk down the street.
Right.
But, Rivetta, wow, what they did was amazing this weekend.
Yeah, pretty good defense. Look, Los Fresnos got downside the 23 times, and they had 2 turnovers on downs, and then they had a field goal blocked. Things are going right for your team when the snap goes bad on an extra point, and the kicker, in this case, Shelin Martinez, that's a great name, Shelin, picks it up and throws a 2-point conversion to Edward Rubio, just like that. I mean, so when you're going bad, the other team run it back for 2 or 1. Now, what do you get, 1 or 2?
You 2.
Okay. But when you're going good, when you're making your own breaks, when you're opportunistic, Rivetta's won 3 in a row. They're right there, 3-2. There are 4 teams at 3-2 behind San Benito.
Yeah.
And who are they?
Harlingen, Los Fresnos, Rivetta, and Vets.
Wow. We had Vets penciled in. They still have a decent road. Harlingen has a decent road now. Boy, what a big win for them.
Yeah.
That was big.
And that was a commanding win. It, from the get-go. I mean, I was like, whoa.
26-6. They didn't give them about 120 yards of offense, and that's a veteran team that scored 51 and 57. How about 6? The Cardinals finally played Cardinal football.
Yeah, and Eladio Jaimes, he spoke to me this weekend about how that team's a bunch of sophomores that are really coming to play now.
Some big kids and big sophomores.
Yeah. So, they've got a little revolution there of young players coming up.
Hey, man, it comes in waves. They had a block punt, and you remember Harlingen, and, in the recent past, that was what they hung their hat on to an extent, was big plays. Leo Tienda, my store guy, right? Take it to the store, 189 yards. And he was running with authority. He's got good vision. Whenever you look at the highlights of this guy, his head is always up and he's seeing stuff quick. And his legs tend to respond to his eyes, which is always what you want, and not always what you get.
Yeah, and I know Manny is really happy. I got to text back and forth with him this weekend. He likes where his team's at. I mean, he's got a tough game this week. He's playing Harlingen South, Bird Bowl. Anything could happen.
Oh, that's 2 weeks.
Oh, that's 2 weeks.
Yeah, they got Lopez.
Boy, Lopez,
and then the Bird Bowl.
Yeah.
So, but their road is not bad.
Yeah.
I pencil them in the playoffs.
They win this game right now. They're pretty much it.
Yeah, there are 4 wins, right? Los Fresnos, meanwhile, who's Los Fresnos play? Los Fresnos and Brownsville Vets. Okay, that's a game in which both teams lost last week, and so they have to come out and get back on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got, whoever wins is in.
Yeah.
So Los Fresnos really can't overlook this game. I mean, I know that you got another game. But this is this is it, man. Yeah, if you want to make it, you got to win this game.
Yeah. You may end up making it if you don't win this game, but you didn't charge in, fists up. You kind of, got dragged in.
A little weird, though. Vets have been putting up so many points.
I'm telling you.
And for them not to put any points up against Harlingen, it was kind of eerie. It was like, wait, where's the team that we've seen all this time?
I think from what I can gather looking at the videos, man, Harlingen kept the ball a bit. You know what I mean? But Vets never got a chance to really get going. I'll tell you who played a great game for Vets. If you watch our highlights, 33. I didn't really know that much about Gustavo Vasquez, but that guy was in on every play. He was killing people for Vets. He's a good player. Probably an outside linebacker or a strong safety. I can't tell because of the screen, but I mean, no, I thought he was incredible. But they didn't do much, man. They need to get with it because they were feeling high as the kites, and now all of a sudden they're grounded like pigeons, man. So what are they going to do?
Well, you know, they've got to. I think you can pass against Los Fresnos because they're a big team. I think they're going to run a lot this week. I think it's going to be a real ground and pound kind of game.
Yeah.
But I still really like Los Fresnos in this game.
Well, you know, I've been
pretty big.
Yeah, they are. We've been picking them or touting them all year, but they've got to get it going too. So this is the game where, as we said, we will see which team really wants to be a contender because the team that loses might make it. 3 losses is not going to kill you, but you don't want to do that on week 10. You want to win that game. This is the character of your team right here. That's going to be a wonderful football game.
Yeah, and Hannah, we can't really kind of forget
Hannah against Rivetta. Hannah's 2-3. They're in the mix. Boy, Lucas Olivares continues to amaze. I was thinking on the way over here, as I usually do. Sometimes to good use. What if you were able to make a team out of the Brownsvilles? They would be pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have Rubio, you'd have Lucas Olivares. Who would you pick? Would you pick Andy Lopez, or would you pick Elizondo from Rivera? That guy's good, man.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, man. I think Brownsville will be pretty tough. Well, anyway, Hannah's looking better. 2-3, they've got to win twice, right? Rivera is on that streak. This is a game that they probably, based on the way they've been playing, win, but you can never. When it's Hannah Rivera, when it's crosstown rivals, who knows, man? Yeah. That's going to be good.
And you have to remember, too, you're talking about positioning yourself, too, because nobody wants to play Weslaco East or Weslaco. Really, I think East is...
Either one right now. Are you picking East over Weslaco? We're not even there yet.
Weslaco had an injury, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But Weslaco East is playing some good football.
Man, Lupe Marone, you see those runs he made? The cuts, running over people, the spins. No, that guy's real good, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play them right now. But, you know, going back to 32.
Going back, Hannah Rivera, Harlingen Lopez, again, you know, Lopez hasn't won a game, and Harlingen's on a roll. This could be one of those 60-0 games, and I really kind of hope not. But I mean, just something tells me that Harlingen needs to pour it on. And I think they will.
Yeah, and San Benito is going to be playing Harlingen South, and which for them, you don't want this to be that letdown game.
Yeah, and South still has some talent. You know, I mean, they're kind of down. They lost last week. They're down to the second quarterback, but. Gosh, man, I mean, that was a team that won 10 games, and they would love to mess up San Benito's season, man, because in Harlingen, and any team in San Benito and vice versa, there's always a little bit of animosity, shall we say. Yeah. We're not going to revisit that old territory. But so, San Benito's on a roll. They scored 55, starting with the onside kick to begin the game. A little trickery there, yeah, Lee?
You know, and San Benito, I know that they brought a lot of players back from last year's team, but this team is playing really well. I mean, this is an inspired team.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's a good word. It is an inspired team. I don't know whether it was a coaching change or whether just a lot of kids grew up at the right time.
Yeah.
Sometimes your kids regress a little bit. Sometimes they grow. There's just almost no way to tell what's going to happen because you can do all the right things. You can go through all the drills, and then sometimes your seniors don't respond, or sometimes kids get in trouble, or sometimes they don't make their grades. You just never know, man. So, yeah, it's been a charmed life for San Benito so far. 5-0 in district, a 2-game lead. They basically have clinched a tie for the title.
Yeah. So, and they're going to probably play in 31 6A. They'll probably play who?
Well, let's see. I have that somewhere here.
They'll play our second.
All right, they'll be small, right? Yeah. So maybe PSJ Memorial if they make it. Maybe Edinburgh North if they make it. Who knows? So yeah, let's go. When we go, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to try to sort out the playoff stuff, even though we're not even there yet. Yeah. But that's kind of the fun part, right? That's like the tea leaves. That's
I think we're allowed to look ahead right now.
Yeah, I think we are.
We're not coaches.
We don't. Yeah, exactly. We don't have any horse in the race here. It's easy for us. Yeah, this will be the case. 80-12. Yeah. Oh, by the way. Who was it that scored 80-something points? I remember in a minute. There was a high school team that scored 80-something, along with TCU.
Really?
Ridiculous. Yeah, 82 to what? 37 or something over Texas Tech, or 27. Anyway, we're getting off track, but that's okay because we're buddies. We don't mind. We got nowhere else to go.
It's the web.
Yeah, just the web. Yeah, I keep thinking it's TV, but it's not. It's the web. All right, the show, Greg Selber, Jake Barry, take a break. 31 when we come back.